What if we could help end a genocide?
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2019 has been awarded to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, winner of the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize, had launched military operations in Tigray in November last year.
On November 4th, 2020, Abiy Ahmed cut off Tigray from the world by shutting down phone, internet, electricity, banks, and basic services. This genocidal war on Tigray is happening in the dark.
We have corroborated information of gross human rights violation abuses.
Alleged mass killing of several hundred people.
We are seeing very credible reports of human rights abuses and atrocities.
Abductions and sexual violence against women and girls.
This is part of a campaign that's being intentionally waged against the women of Tigray.
Sexual violence is used by soldiers as a way to fight this war.
Well, it's chaos here.
The Ethiopian Red Cross has warned that 80% of the country's conflict-hit Tigray region is completely cut off from humanitarian aid.
Give us safe and unhindered access. Respect the medical doctors. Respect the health facilities.
Ethiopian troops, along with neighboring Eritrean troops, have killed thousands of civilians, including deliberate weaponized rape of women and girls. Some have called this another Yugoslavia or Rwandan genocide in the making. But today, we hope to change that. Join us in spreading awareness about what's happening in the dark, using hashtag Tigray Genocide and hashtag Free Tigray to pressure the international community to restore peace, provide relief, and ensure accountability in Tigray. 4.5 million people, or 91% of Tigrayans, are on the brink of starvation. But if we band together, we can fight this man-made humanitarian crisis and help ensure a peaceful and thriving Tigray, united as one for the good of helping others. Free Tigray. Helping Tigray is as simple as one click. Go to freetigray.com to take action.
Hi, and welcome to our English program here at TMH Media House. I'm here with two special guests that are here to represent all the advocacy and the frontline protesting that's been happening in the past year and some change since we've started. Care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Bakimos. And I'm from Los Angeles, and I'm here to, share my experience on how the past year went.
My name is Simon. I'm from the DMV area, and I'm here to talk about the past year and how it has been.
Yes, it's been almost a year. We're coming up on November 4th in a couple of days, and we have a lot of different activities and protests and vigils lined up for this weekend, so it's going to be a very impactful weekend. We have people flying in from all over the states, even internationally. Baki here himself came from California. So I just wanted to kind of get a grip of, what this past year has been like for both of you and anything that has stood out for you and all that good stuff. So we'll start with, what was your most memorable moment of this past year?
There's been a lot, but the two that stand out is one, the March 30th, or I think it's like the March, national protest here that was held in DMV. That stood out because it allowed the whole digital Wayane movement to come into a live form. I got to meet a lot of the advocates, a lot of the people that were advocating online, to meet them in person and become, a lifelong. We were able to make lifelong relationships, like a person like Simon. I've met Maaza, a lot of other friends and families that we got to meet in person. And the second one was the LA protest at the Karen Bass office, which also then went to Little Ethiopia. And I'll just leave that at that.
That's actually really important, especially in these times. Finding, the people that are going through this hardship with you, that understand you, and that can really relate to you is important. So I'm glad to hear that. And what about you?
For me, I think majority of the moments have been very memorable. It's hard to pick, specifically say that, all right, this moment was more memorable than the other, but some come to mind. I specifically remember the time that I meet Bakimos in person. It happened in New York. Him and Jamal flew all the way from Los Angeles, and that's when I realized this is real. This is a movement, and this is a moment where people are coming to make sure we will be voice to our voiceless people. So moments like that I can't never forget. Meeting people that I know over the phone, over social media, coming, flying 6-7 hours to be voice their people and become showing their commitment. When I started seeing that stuff, that's when I realized, all right, we're here, we're in it together. I have families now that are willing to come all the way from other states to be a part of my voice, and I'm willing to go all the way to their state and be part of their voice. So those moments are more memorable. I don't have a specific time or a specific place that I would say this one was more memorable, because the majority of them, equally memorable. But seeing people coming together, that's like the biggest thing for me.
Right. And you've mentioned a couple of other names, and I know you two are not the only ones on this front line advocating the way you are, but it's definitely been seen. So what is the most effective that you think has been about your advocacy journey thus far?
Man, I at least just like the listening aspect, and just listening to our peers, listening to the people, and just seeing what their wants and need are, and then just following up with using our advocacy and leadership, and just using that part and making sure that we follow through on it. So we want to just listen to them and see what their wants and needs are and following through.
What about you? What's been the most effective about your advocacy journey?
I think what Baki said kind of underlines the fact, but to add on that, I think the unity played a huge role. A majority of us accepted the purpose, and we were willing to fight for it, rather than being given an agenda. No one was telling us what to do and how to do it and when to do it. If you've noticed, the majority of the advocacy that is being done was being done, people, for instance, like Baki, based on my knowledge, he's not even well aware of Tigray. He is Tigrayan, but he was never aware of what Tigray is, the history and all that stuff. But because of that Tigrayan identity, he chose to fight for that identity, and he saw the reality and the facts and believed that it was a cause to fight for. So everybody was united. Everybody had the same purpose, rather than a given agenda, and I think that helped. And we were, to tell the truth, we had the facts. We were fighting for the reality. We were fighting for the truth. We were fighting for humanity. And these things are things fighting worth for. So when you're doing this stuff, by nature, you will always be successful. We were not lying. We were not coming with propaganda. We were not creating fake narratives. We were actually using factual evidences that happened to our family, that happened to our brothers and sisters. And we wanted to be voice for them, so it was easy for us to be successful, and the unity came, and I think that helped a lot.
Absolutely, and as you said, the truth does always prevail. But do you think there's any parts of lacking in regards to the strategy of advocating?
I don't think, again, we can, a lot of people will say different things, but I don't think there's anything lacking in terms of our advocacy. I think our advocacy has been successful. The problem does not come on our end, rather it comes from the international community and their failure to take action. Kudos, and I want to say, because I've seen a lot of youth blaming themselves, being hard on themselves. Kudos to y'all, every single youth that have been going out, advocating, creating platforms. Look how far we've come. Tigray genocide, #Tigray genocide is a real trend. People know about what's going on in Tigray, and that's kudos to you. It's the youth that came out and advocated, created platforms, became very creative in making sure our voice was being heard. I think the failure and the lack came from the international community and their failure to act, and that's disappointing to see. But what we can do is pressure them. We can keep pushing, and majority of the advocacy that we've worked on have been successful, right? We've seen actions being taken by the United States government. We've seen a lot of international community coming out and standing with us, and that did not come from nowhere. It's the advocacy that me, Baki, every single young youth that has fought 24/7 to make sure our voice is being heard. That's the success that we come up for. So I think I don't see any failure on our end. I see success. It's just that the international community has failed us.
I completely agree with that. There's definitely more ways to protest and advocate as opposed to just being on the front lines and walking the march and speaking the talk. You could be distributing that hashtag, like you said, Tigray genocide is something that's went viral on Twitter, on every social media platform. What has been one of your coping mechanisms in the past difficult year?
I think my biggest coping mechanism is friendship, and realizing that the friends and the friendship that I had in the past was not a true friendship, right? I've met Baki for the past 1 year, and the relationship and the connection that I have with him is tremendous. Talking to him, kind of, venting and expressing myself, and him knowing what I'm going through, understanding those facts, helped a lot. Talking to one another, and again, I want to go back and thank the users and kudos for them. They've created multiple platforms for us to cope and kind of feel better and not stress and not get depressed. I remember when we used to have sessions on Zoom where we talk and discuss how our feelings were. They used to bring professionals, and we used to discuss on how we can cope with it. So again, kudos to the youth. They made it easier for us. Our relationship, our bond, our connection, our friendship, the familyhood, and all that stuff added up, and it created a way for us to cope. So I would say the biggest is the friendship and the bond that I've created with my Tigrayan friends in our lives.
And that piggybacks off to what I said earlier. It's nice to know and hear somebody that really relates to you, understands you through and through, as opposed to you having to explain how you feel or how something made you feel or how something has impacted you. What about you? What has been one of your greatest coping mechanisms?
I mean, one is for him is friends, which I also relate. How I also got closer with my father, who usually doesn't take time to call me in the past because he's like, oh, Baki's busy, he has work, and things like that. But during this time in the past year, he's made an effort to make a phone call. He's made the time to actually call me, or I've made time to actually call him and talk about what's going on back home. We would actually check up on each other. And then also the victory songs. The victory songs, to me, I don't usually call them struggle. I call them victory songs because I know what's actually about to happen for Tigray. Tigray is about to prevail. Tigray will prevail. So that also has been a coping mechanism for me as well.
I know for me, one of the greatest highlights is before this time, it was always hear a mouth or word of say. It's what my parents told me. It's what my family members told me. But now I feel like I'm living through it myself. And that in itself has helped me get closer to my parents as well, and to my father and my mother, and really understand, as opposed to before it was just a picture and an image that I had in my bed. You know what I mean? So what do you think the international community can do better? I know you touched upon it earlier a little bit, but how can they improve on how they've responded to this genocide?
I think the biggest thing that they can do is stop politicizing it. It has nothing to do with politics. Everything that is happening is all about humanity, and actions needs to be taken, regardless of what your political ideology or your political alliance is. It doesn't matter who you're friends with. This one has nothing to do with that. That can come later on. I think they need to realize that people are dying, people are being raped, people are being massacred on a daily basis. And I think they should understand whatever is happening in Tigray has zero impact or has nothing to do with politics. And they need to stop politicizing it and understand the fact of the matter is my brothers, sisters, my mother, my dad are going through a pain. I've lost a lot of people, and it's all about humanity. And as I always say, standing with Tigray is standing with humanity. They need to stop what they're doing and say, all right, this is time to take action and stop this brutal attack that's going against humanity, and we need to take action against it. So I think they need to realize that. That's my biggest opinion.
And how can you add on to that?
I mean, he's right. Another thing is that, like I said, standing with Tigray doesn't mean that you're standing against Ethiopian people. The Ethiopian people, are just like any other people, good people. The Armenians and Azerbaijan people or Jewish people are not evil people, just because you stand against their actions. We're standing right now is against the people's actions, and we want to make sure that the international community denounces Ethiopian government, and we want to make sure that they stand wholeheartedly and tell them, hey, you know what, Ethiopia, you are not allowed to kill innocent civilians in Tigray. And we want the whole world to stand alongside of the people of Tigray. That's what we want to make sure we do that.
Absolutely. Who do you feel is the most vulnerable in Tigray at the moment?
Well, I mean, everyone is vulnerable, but I feel like I relate because I mean there's things that I have underlined so I don't share with others, but then I feel like I relate with those that have medical conditions, people that may need doctors, because those that are in these type of situations, they need doctors, they need medical attention, they need they need us essentially. And when they're being bombed, when they're being attacked, when they're being put in these situations, like, who is there to help them out? So I just feel like we need to be there for those people at these times.
What about you?
I think what Baki said is right, and again, as he said, he can relate to certain vulnerability, and I think it's all about perspective, right? Depending on where you're standing, you're going to feel like, all right, this part of the population is more vulnerable than the others. Like a mother is going to feel, all right, my daughters and kids are more vulnerable, or a husband could say women are being raped and they're more vulnerable. So in my opinion, the whole Tigray is as vulnerable equally, in my opinion. Are there some part of the population that need urgent care and urgent assistance? 100%. But that doesn't mean that the rest does not. So for me, I have a very deep feeling, and I've tried to work with a lot of women in the past as well. So I feel like women in Tigray are the most vulnerable. When you see they've lost children, they've lost sons, daughters, they've seen their children being raped, and they've been a victim of rape as well. So it's in multiple dimensions that they're being attacked as well. So imagine being a mother and losing your daughter, and imagine you're a mother, you lose your son, you see them being massacred in front of you, then you see your daughter being raped, you're being raped, and now you're seeing your children, your infants starving to death. So I don't think this is a pain that anybody should go through. So I think mothers of Tigray has gone through it a lot, and I sympathize for them, and I hope solution comes fast.
And sorry to cut you off, but again, like, this isn't a matter of competition, as he just explained to you the gravity of how women are going through these, traumatic incidents or traumatic events in their life, and they shouldn't be going through this, and that's why we need to act now.
I agree. How can we help them?
I think we can help them in multiple dimensions, and kudos to people like Baki and others that have done an amazing job in making sure those who can be reached has been reached for, and they've been helped. Again, the youth in the US and in other part of the world have done tremendous job in terms of creating multiple platforms and foundations to make sure those who can be accessible in terms of being assisted are being assisted. If you see what's going on in Sudan, multiple organizations have traveled to Sudan, and they've helped a lot of refugees, a lot of displaced Tagaru, and they're being assisted. If you're asking me in the future, there's a lot we can do. There's a lot we can do, and I promise you, I've had multiple conversations with a lot of Tagaru, young, smart, bright Tigrayans, and the plans that they're building is amazing for me, where I'm so excited to see what's going to happen. But one thing I would say is the advocacy itself, the people, every single tweet that we tweet, every single word that goes out, every single word that you talk about Tigray is helping Tigray, benefiting Tigray in one way or another. So I would say keep the unity, keep the advocacy going on. Don't feel as if you're not helping enough. So you do better and help Tigrayans more as well. So I think that's the way to help. Keeping the unity and keeping the momentum is the way to go, and that's how Tigray will prevail.
I completely agree. I don't think there's any advocacy that's too small or minuscule, and everything will keep the ball rolling and the momentum flowing. Did you want to add something to that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's one answer to this one, and that's with the removal of, Abiy and Isaias. So when Abiy and Isaias is out, then the siege is removed.
Right.
When the siege is removed, then those that are vulnerable we're able to then help those that are in need, So I feel like the ultimate answer for this is those that are affecting our people, those that are harming us or our family members or the people of Tigray, they need to be removed.
Yeah, and I think with our advocacy, that will hopefully be in the process. I know you've been there in your forefront, went to Sudan and did some things. Do you want to touch up on that a little bit?
Helping the people of Sudan, I thought my experience was going to be like, man, fulfilling. Like I'm going to go and help these people out, and it's going to be amazing. But one thing I learned from the helping out the people of Sudan, or the refugees in Sudan, which I've actually got to help the people in Sudan as well, is that they actually helped me out. You know, it was an experience that I'll never be able to like forget. You know, and that's one thing. Now we were able to go ahead and give them food, clothes, toys, everything that you can think of. We were able to provide. Now I speak to them every single day. Still to this day. Look forward to going back and seeing them. And then like I consider them now as families and friends. You know, so it's an experience.
And so you said they helped you. How did they? I
mean, it's because living in America and you're so consumed with work, life, stress, and then you see them and they're still with what very little that they have, they're still happy. It just brings you some form of joy, and it tells you, you know what, your stress that you have here back home, it's irrelevant, you know. So it humbles you, and it tells you to appreciate the little things that you have in life, and it allows you to appreciate your family, your friends, everything that you have, you know. So.
Absolutely. And how was your time in Sudan? What do you think it taught you?
Traveling to Sudan was by far the best thing that has ever happened to me. I've gone there multiple times, and I want to thank the people at DW Foundation. They've raised over $70,000. Them and their friends and members, we've raised over $70,000 so far between multiple campaigns. We've done 3 campaigns, and through that campaign, a little bit over $70,000 has been raised. And actually, more than as Baki said, more than me going there and assisting them and helping them, it was them that kind of enlightened me. I've said this multiple times. I was born and raised in Addis. Been to Tigray maybe once when I was a little kid. Going to Sudan made me realize what kind of a beautiful culture and what kind of beautiful people I have. When I first went there was in December. This is like a couple of months after the war started. And the camps and the settlement areas was not as established as they are right now. And me going there and seeing them the way they are, I was so depressed, I was so emotional, I felt really bad until I talked to them. The minute I talked to them, they're like, we're okay, we're good. Go back to where you come from, make sure you advocate for you people. There are a lot of people in Tigray that are dying, a lot of people are being massacred. They didn't even feel bad in the situation that they were in. They were like, listen to me. There was a mom that I talked to. She was like, what day? Sma'ani. Go back up. She didn't even have a house to stay in. She said, so I'm speaking in Tigrinya.
No
she
worries.
told me, go back and advocate. She didn't use the word advocate, but she said, make sure people know what's going on in Tigray. And I felt so warm at that moment. I was like, that's the art of giving, right? That's being Tigrayan. That's what every single Tigrayan is doing right now. Everybody is struggling in their own way, but still we go out, we advocate, we make sure our people are being helped, assisted. We advocate as much as possible. So going to Sudan made me the Tigrayan that I am right now, which I was not maybe a couple of years ago.
And hearing those words, I can only imagine how much strength it's giving you to keep going and fight the fight 100%.
100%. Talking to people in Tigray, in Sudan, the refugees in Sudan, will 100% change the way you see the whole narrative of this war. Yeah. It's not about me, or it's not about Baki, or it's not about you, or it's not about a given individual or a given group. It's the whole nation. Yeah. As a nation, Tigrayans, we came under attack. And we all defended, we fought together, made sure, we exist as a given identity.
And everyone has a role. And that's the things that you have a role, he has a role, I have a role, they have a role. And together we move and we're trying to fulfill our mission.
That is absolutely true. I want to wrap this up because I think we've said some great things in the last few seconds. But if you had any message to the viewers in Tigray or even the rest of the world that are listening, what is one message that you want to leave off with?
This is a hard question, especially message to the people in Tigray. I want to say a lot of things to them. I want to start by saying sorry. Sorry for not being the Tigrayan I'm supposed to be for the past of my life. Sorry it had to take me this long to realize how beautiful and great my identity is. So I want to start off by saying that, and I want to continue by promising saying that I will fight till the end to make sure those who had committed atrocities, massacre, and agony against every single Tigrayans are brought to justice. My advocacy, my fight for Tigrayans, my fight for my people is not going to stop when this war stops. It's going to go all the way until I genuinely believe, and I've seen Tigray prevail economically, psychologically, and even justice-wise. Those people that have committed those crimes, until those people are brought to justice, I'm going to keep on fighting. And this is a promise to my people. And message to the world, I have nothing. I've been spreading my message for the past years, screaming at the State Department on a daily basis. So if they want to see what my message is to the international world, just go back a couple of days. I was at the State Department. You can see those videos. But I have a message to Tigrayans in the US and other parts of the world as well. Keep doing what you're doing. Do not feel bad by any means. You've done enough, and you're doing enough as is. Keep doing what you're doing. I promise you, Tigray will prevail in a short time. What you're doing is right. The advocacy you're doing is working. Don't let no one tell you what you're doing is not right, because it is right. And keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. And what is the message for the viewers of Tigray and the rest of the world?
For me, it's not by accident that we are here. Meaning, me, Simon, you yourself, myself, and all Tigray. And the reason why I say that is because, I've always been Ethiopian. And today, I'm talking about November 3rd, the end, or November 4th, I'm not sure, but my dad called me and told me exactly what happened. And I've had friends prior to that telling me, oh, Tigray's going to go to war, whatever. But I never believed it. Why? Because I was always Ethiopian and Tigray was Ethiopia to me. But when it did happen, it's not by accident that I actually am here. It's because we are Tigray. It is in our blood to defend who we are. And it happened before, and it's happening again. But it ends here. It will no longer happen again. So don't be surprised that why Tigray is knocking on the doorstep of Addis Ababa either. It is not by accident, because we have been persistent, been advocating, we've been working hard, and everyone has been doing their parts. So just keep going, and awet kariba. That's it. It's a wrap.
Yeah, 100%. I want to add one thing to what Baki said. 100% he's right. What he said right now, it's not by accident that we're here. It's not by accident that I met Baki. Whatever has happened in the past, these atrocities, this inhumane actions that have been happening against the Tigrayans for the past hundreds and hundreds of years, has made us strong. And one thing that I loved that I saw in one of the protests, somebody was holding a slogan that says, you involved the wrong generation. You messed with the wrong generation. This is the generation that makes sure that the atrocities, the pain and agony that our people are going through for the past years will stop. And it's up to me, it's up to you, it's up to Baki, it's up to every single Tigrayan, especially diaspora Tigrayan, to make sure this does not happen. And the way to do it is to educate. Educate yourself, educate your children, educate your family. Any single person that you know that's Tigrayan has to know what being Tigrayan is. Being Tigrayan did not come by it's not a gift that was given to us. It was not something that happened to exist. We claimed it. We paid blood, tears for us to literally come here and talk about Tigrayan pride. So make sure your children, your kids, every single person that is Tigrayan knows about this. Document it, archive it, educate, educate, educate. And we make sure this is the last time Tigray suffer.
Agreed. It was definitely not an accident. And being Tigrayan is a blessing, and we're here for a reason. I appreciate you guys so much, and thank you for this conversation. Do you guys have any places people can find you? If you guys have any other information you want to disclose to the
I'm going to give this to Baki, because Baki is working on a huge project, Free Tigray.
Yes, Free
so I'm going to let him speak about that.
So tomorrow we have a project, actual video that we're launching, that's going to be a comprehensive video of the whole 1 year genocide, and we are launching at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and it launches on Free Tigray on Instagram. We're also launching on Facebook and TikTok, and Twitter as well. So please follow us at Free Tigray on Instagram, and then we have a link tree where all our social media handles will be listed as well. So please do that. Thank you very much.
Yes, and you want everybody to spread that video as far as possible as well.
Spread it, share it, do everything. Thank you very much.
All of it, absolutely. Thank you guys so much. We have an eventful weekend ahead of us, and I hope we'll see you guys there on the forefronts, fighting and advocating, just as we've been talking about for the past however minutes. This wraps up our program for today. Thank you for tuning in.
What if we could help end a genocide?
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2019 has been awarded to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, winner of the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize, had launched military operations in Tigray in November last year.
On November 4th, 2020, Abiy Ahmed cut off Tigray from the world by shutting down phone, internet, electricity, banks, and basic services. This genocidal war on Tigray is happening in the dark.
We have corroborated information of gross human rights violation abuses.
Alleged mass killing of several hundred people.
We are seeing very credible reports of human rights abuses and atrocities.
Abductions and sexual violence against women and girls.
This is part of a campaign that's being intentionally waged against the women of Tigray.
Sexual violence is used by soldiers as a way to fight this war.
Well, it's chaos here.
The Ethiopian Red Cross has warned that 80% of the country's conflict-hit Tigray region is completely cut off from humanitarian aid.
Give us safe and unhindered access. Respect the medical doctors. Respect the health facilities.
Ethiopian troops, along with neighboring Eritrean troops, have killed thousands of civilians, including deliberate weaponized rape of women and girls. Some have called this another Yugoslavia or Rwandan genocide in the making. But today, we hope to change that. Join us in spreading awareness about what's happening in the dark, using hashtag Tigray Genocide and hashtag Free Tigray to pressure the international community to restore peace, provide relief, and ensure accountability in Tigray. 4.5 million people, or 91% of Tigrayans, are on the brink of starvation. But if we band together, we can fight this man-made humanitarian crisis and help ensure a peaceful and thriving Tigray, united as one for the good of helping others. Free Tigray. Helping Tigray is as simple as one click. Go to freetigray.com to take action.